Hey guys. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Brynn, and down at K-State, I'm a sophomore. And sorry, something came up, so like I'm not able to be there in person, but I'd still love to share about my summer and kind of what God's been doing, um, using Kaleo with that, and then also just a transition into here at K-State. But first, I just want to say thank you for all of the support and prayers that you guys have had for me and Briar, and God's been working in our lives. So I just want to share some stories and highlights of just like what He's done so far. So just some highlights from this summer. Living in a greenhouse and just being surrounded by like all of these college students who are kind of in the same boat as us. We're each on our different like faith journey, but like all running the same race and just having a bunch of fellowship. And that was like just spurring each other on was just really like motivating. And it's like, wow, this, like, I'm not alone, like everyone is doing this. And yeah, like I said, just the fellowship. I had a room full of 8 girls, including me, and so we were all in sororities here at K-State, and I only knew one of them beforehand. And so coming back to K-State, it's been cool to have that fellowship like across campus, and just like making sure that like we are standing firm and just holding each other accountable, and just like seeing what God's been doing in our different sororities. But having that fellowship has been great down here. And also this summer I worked 40-hour weeks, and so I worked at this restaurant called Coastal. It was along Orange Beach, and I was a host there. And so it was kind of like a great way to interact with customers, like walking them to their tables and stuff. The restaurant that I was like a host at is like huge, and it was a lot for like a lot of people who came were like tourists and like people who were traveling. And so I would just like start the conversation like with like, oh, like, where are you from, or like, are you on vacation or something like that. And then they'll answer, and they'll ask me, and I'm like, I'm actually from Kansas. And then it's just like a great conversation starter. It's where I can kind of like share with them like, oh, I'm down here in Gulf Shores for like a faith and leadership project, growing in my faith. And some of them like would ask more questions, and some of them would just like stop the conversation there. But it was cool just to be able to share like that way. And just with a lot of the content that we learned about like sharing and stuff, it was a good way to use that and like apply it to like being in the workforce, and actually like working with coworkers and being able to share the gospel, or just like have those spiritual conversations with them. And we also had J1s work at Coastal, and so J1s were just people like from the nations who like came and worked. And so it was cool because every single week at Kaleo we had one night every week that was called like World Prayer, and we would pray for a different religion like across the world. And so just like learning their culture and kind of what they believe in. And so having like working with J1s was cool because we got to like see and just kind of know like what their culture was like, and like hear what they believe in and be able to have a conversation with them. But yeah, it's just cool how like God can use the nations and like bring them to us, when like a lot of us are from the Midwest and came down, and we like all were in Gulf Shores. And so there was a lot of different J1s working at a lot of the locations that most Kaleo people worked at, which was really cool. And then also like we had conferences throughout the summer. We had 3 of them: discipleship making, and the relationship conference, and then world impact. And so my favorite was probably discipleship making conference, and that one was just, I feel like it was my favorite because last year I was being discipled by like a girl in my sorority, but like this year I am discipling like others and like learning how to do that. And so that's been cool just to learn and realize like that's what we are supposed to do, is like go and like share the gospel. And so just learning that and having like a weekend full of like content over that was just like really cool to learn, and then like or like listen to, and then actually like apply it back here at K-State and down there in Gulf Shores. But then, yeah, we also had SLT talks, so it was like on Saturdays. We had like training, and then we would go out and share on the beach on Saturdays. And so we would go through the training, and then we would be paired up with like 2 or 3 people, and we would go share. And that was like super stretching for me, really challenging, because like last year I was like really getting into my faith and like making progress, but I was never open or like would share. And so I feel like that was really stretching for me, but also grew my confidence and like made me like want to share the gospel. And so it was like very rewarding when people would like really be interested or like wanting to know more and stuff. And then we also like throughout the summer there was like a bunch of staff from like staff on like staff that are like at different campuses across the Midwest, at like Mizzou, Nebraska, KU, K-State. There was like some Georgia and Penn State people there too. But yeah, there's like staff on STUMO down there, like across a lot of different colleges, and so we got to like have the chance to like hang out with them and stuff. And so they would like reach out to us, we would reach out to them, and it was called like a 1-to-1, and we could just chat with them, get their advice on like specific things, because like they were once in our shoes. Yeah, so just like getting their wisdom and knowledge on like certain areas or questions that we had, or just like getting to know them. And so that was really cool, just to have that advantage and opportunity to take advice from them and stuff, because they were there to guide us and like share that with us. And so yeah, that was really like a really good thing. And then also just kind of like what God taught me, like he taught me, like I said, that how to disciple others. And so just bringing that back to K-State, I'm like, I can really put this into practice. But yeah, just like how to disciple and process the gospel with other people. And also making like pre-decisions has been like a good thing. There was a talk where we could like go through like the Corinth filter is what it's called, and just like if there was like an event or certain situation, we would like go through all these questions and like ask ourselves and like make a pre-decision for that, which is like honestly really helpful, and it helps you like stand firm and block out temptations and stuff like that. And then also just like bringing things to light has been good, and sometimes that can be hard, but yeah, like it can be relieving and stuff afterwards. And yeah, so just like claiming and clinging to his promises is another big thing. And the more like I do that, and the more that I see that like play out in my life, is just like the more convinced I become. And so that was kind of like the theme of this summer, is like being convinced. And so that was like something, like a big takeaway that like most people had. And another thing that God taught me was just like keeping an eternal perspective. Every single week we had a study, and every single week we had like a different topic, and one of the weeks was like eternal perspective. And I felt like I could talk about it when it would just come up, but it would never like stay in the forefront of my mind, and I would never like look at people like with an eternal perspective, if that makes sense. So I feel like that made me like have a love for people like more. And just like, yeah, I know like in Acts 20:24 it's talking about like finishing the race and like just like completing the task that the Lord Jesus has given me. And so just like keeping that in my mind, and like, yeah, there was this illustration that I feel like it's super helpful to like think about. And it was so they like were on stage, and like they held this rope out, and they're like, picture if this rope like goes around the world like multiple times, just like never stops. And then there was this chunk on the end of the tape, and it was like, or on the end of the rope, and it was like a red piece of tape, just like probably like 6 inches or something. And he was like, this is our life on earth, and like the rest is like what we're like obviously like gonna live for, but like we're gonna live for like an eternal, or live eternally. And so it's like our life on earth is nothing compared to the rest of our life, but it's like so important how we live. And so that was like crazy for me to think about. I'm like, well, like, yeah, this, like, our life here on earth is like so short, and then like this is like not our home. And then like having eternal perspective and like realizing that like it's so important what we do here on earth, but remembering that like we are like living for something like eternal. And so just keeping that eternal perspective on my mind, and like knowing that like only 3 things do last, and it's like God, his word, and then like the souls of people. So I feel like that's really like grown my love for others, and yeah, wanted me to like share more with them. And also I feel like this summer another thing that I really grew in was like scripture memory. And so and I know Awana helped so much with this growing up, just like memorizing verses, but it's been easier when I do have spiritual conversations with others, or I'm like talking to someone and I just like want to pull up a verse or something. It's like I can like cite it and be like, okay, God's word says this, and it's like true because the Bible does say this, and just like cite a word, or like, or cite a verse, or like cling to his promises and stuff like that, and just remember different passages and verses and stuff. So I feel like that's something that I've grown in a lot this summer, and we do it here. I'm like a Bible study here too, and we do it like every week just to hold each other accountable. So that's been really great. And then I just kind of want to share some stories about like processing the gospel, or share some stories about sharing the gospel with other people this summer. But one of them was, so like we had time set aside for like sharing at the beach, but it kind of like set everyone up for like other opportunities throughout the summer, and just like at their work, or like when they go get dinner, or like something like that. But one time it was me and like 2 other girls. We shared at the beach, and we like spread out along this huge beach, and we'll like share. But we all had to meet up at this specific time, like everyone from Kaleo, and it was like, I don't know, it was like 3 or something like that. And we like ended early, but we had to like drive. But we realized that we could have had time to like share with one more person on the beach, but we were like already in our car driving, and we were gonna go grab a smoothie at this one place. And so we were like praying, because we were like, oh, we should have shared with someone, but maybe there'll be like an opportunity to share with someone when we go get smoothies at this one place. And so we pull up to this place, and there's like a boutique right in front of us, and we come to this like boutique, and we like all walked in, and then we kind of looked around a little bit. I stayed in there a little bit longer, and the other 2 girls went next door, and they're like, okay, we'll like order your smoothie and stuff, and just like meet us next door. I was like, okay. So I was the only one in the boutique, and this girl who was a worker, she was like asking me where I was from, and so I was like, oh, I'm from Kansas. Then I got to like share with her why I was down there for the summer. And right when I like walked in there, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like tell her. In the moment I was like, I'll just tell her about Kaleo, and like just kind of leave it at that. I was like, she seemed kind of like intimidating. I feel like she seemed like she had everything together, and her life was like great. So I'm like, oh, I'm like kind of scared, but I'm like, okay, no, this is me getting out of my comfort zone, and this is like what I'm supposed to do, and what I've been working, or like what I've been learning this whole summer. And so then, yeah, I just started having like a spiritual conversation with her, and I feel like I realized that we had like a lot more similarities than I had thought. Like, she is in a sorority at Auburn, and she's 2 years older than me, and her sister is like the president, and like I'm like, oh wow, like she could like really make an impact. And she was talking about like she was like taking like steps in her faith, but obviously it's like hard being in a sorority and trying to be like set apart, and like faced with temptation and stuff like that. So I got to like share with her like my testimony, kind of walk through the gospel with her, and it was crazy because it ended up, I was in there for like probably close to an hour, and then I like gave her like my phone number, and gave her like a 31-day challenge, and so I could like text her like every week, and we just like share highlights and stuff from like the 31-day challenge, just like take like small steps. But yeah, that was just a great like opportunity, and I was like, wow, like this is what I'm supposed to do. And just taking those steps like out of my comfort zone, I'm like, yeah, she like didn't accept Christ or like said that she was following Christ then, but like I could have planted that seed, and just knowing that someone else could like come along and like water it, and like then like God ultimately like makes it grow. But just like keeping that in mind when like sharing with others, and like not like being discouraged at all. But yeah, there were so many like different stories. I wish I could like continue on, but I'm just gonna kind of keep this short, because I could, yeah, like I said, just like share all these stories with me sharing with other people on the beach, or just like around the area in Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. But yeah, just kind of like moving on, just kind of like what else I've learned this summer is just like building convictions and like holiness, and like, yeah, just realizing like you can't be a friend of the world and a friend of God like at the same time, and just like also remembering like my integrity, and like making sure my actions and my words like line up, and not like trying to be confusing for other people, and then also like learning how to be set apart, and belong to God, rather than like trying to like get really close to like the fence. And something that I remember is like, I remember someone said like, don't just be like you don't want to just be like a more moral person of yourself, but like a completely different person. So I know in like Hebrews 12:1 it says like, let us throw off like everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. So just like remembering that like we want to be like a completely different person, and not just try to like, yeah, be like a more moral person of ourselves, which is something that really made me like think about. I'm like, whoa, like trying to like think that through, and making sure that I'm not like being like double-minded, or like trying to be like better but not like a completely different person, you know. But yeah, that was just kind of like a big wrap up about this summer, kind of what God's taught me, just like some stories that yeah, I wanted to share. But just kind of moving into like my time here at K-State and the transition, and just how it's been. But I feel like for me it's been like really sweet, and just like I've been a lot more consistent with like my time with God like every day, and as I saw like at Kaleo this summer, like the difference it really does make, like getting in the Word like every day, and talking to God every day, and like praying, and yeah, I feel like just being more consistent, and like how important it is, and doing that more just like wants you to, or just like makes you like have like a love for Him more, and like want to look more like Him, and love what He loves, hates what He hates, just like stuff like that. And so I feel like that's been really like a lot better this year than it was like last year, as I'm like still like growing in that. And here in Trido, I've been co-leading like a Bible study within my house with like other girls, which has been super sweet, because a lot of girls have came that I honestly like didn't expect to come, and they've been asking like really good questions, and we've been just going over like the attributes of God, and just like some like more basic things. But it's been good to like really share with them. And yeah, like I said, they've been asking lots of questions, and when we go through like, we'll like read through Bible verses, and they've like are like opening their Bibles and like wanting to do that. And so I was like, that's just been an answered prayer. And I feel like also with that, like there were 4 other girls in my sorority who were at Kaleo this summer, and so I feel like just having that accountability, and like it's been easier to like stand firm and stuff like that with yeah, like having those girls where we like can wake up and like spend time with God in the mornings, like with each other, or like pray with each other or something like that, and like also like lead this Bible study together. I feel like that's been yeah, just really cool. And it's also like holding me accountable to like make sure my actions and my words line up when these girls see me like in the Bible study, versus like when they see me like walking down the hall, or like at class, or like on the weekend. Like I should be consistent. And so also I've kind of been yeah, at the beginning with both, I have 2 roommates, and at the beginning of the semester I was like kind of scared to just like want to share with them, or like process the gospel, or like have a spiritual conversation with them. But this last week, one of my roommates, we were like up really late one night, and we like started reading the Bible, and she was like asking questions, and just like having more and more spiritual conversations every single day. And it's been like super cool. And so but her name is Reagan. If you guys like could pray for her, that would be great. And Yeah, just praying that she goes to this winter conference with me over winter break in Branson. It's called SMC. It's where like I went last year, but yeah, praying that she goes. And then another thing is just like that what I've been doing here at K-State, just like maximize my schedule and trying to just get time with girls and doing like life on life with them. And being relational and also intentional with like our incoming freshman class and just girls in the house. And so that's just kind of like how everything's been at K-State. I've just really, it's been cool to see like all the prayers God's like already answered from like this summer and just this school year, and I'm excited to see like how he's going to use my life this year. And just kind of wrap things up, I do want to say thank you again for like all those prayers and supports for like Briar and I throughout this summer and the school year. We do really appreciate it, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for letting me share like about my summer and just the school year and what God's been doing just within my life and Briar's life. And so hope to see you guys soon, but bye.